Hi everyone, this is Miss Melissa from FIBO Kids Art Academy, and today I'm very excited to teach you guys about the country that I am from, which is Lebanon. I was born and raised there. And for today's culture project, you are going to learn about the traditional fashion, the symbol in the flag, and even Arabic lettering and calligraphy. So I'll talk about it more once we start. This is what our final piece of artwork is going to look like. Now, as you know, we always start with a practice draw. So for a practice draw, you can use any type of paper. Now, since this is a recording, you can do your practice draw and then pause and rewind and redo the steps for your final draw. So I'm going to start with drawing the faces. So my faces are going to be about halfway down the paper. So whatever size paper you're using, go to about halfway, and that's where your heads are going to start because we're going to have a lot of things in the background. So we're going to start with 2 circles. Now let's say 2 ovals. So now we know where our 2 people are going to be placed. And then we're going to add on the details of each of their bodies as we get there. So for our first body, I'm going to add a neck, 2 curved lines, and then the arms. And we're just going to add on the basic structure of his clothes. So this is not how Lebanese people dress now, but this is how they dress traditionally. And they also dress like this for some weddings and events, which I'll talk about more later. So I'm adding his right shoulder and the other part of his shirt. So it almost looks like a suit. Then we're going to add a band in the middle behind his shirt. Now these pants that I'm going to draw are called shirwal. So that's how you say it in Arabic. In English you could say shirwal. Now the fun thing about these pants is they are really baggy right here. And what's interesting is that people still wear them now, but it's more of a fashionable item versus people who are traditionally Lebanese wear them. So anyone could wear them. I actually have a pair. I just use them as sweats. So they're actually very comfortable. Now for the feet, we're going to keep them really simple. We're going to add a line, curve that goes out and back in. Now these 2 people that I added, they're almost going to be like dolls. And the thing that inspired me here is that all the souvenir shops in Lebanon sell really cute dolls and figurines that look like this. So that's what made me want to do this. So now we're going to add the little hands again, 2 curves on the side just to be like his hands are on his sides. Now this hat that I'm going to add is called a tarbouche. These are interesting because they look almost like a mix between a square with rounded edges. So we're going to start at the top of the head. So it's like a rounded square. And it has a tassel on it. So the tassel has a little piece right here that we're going to color in later. And then little pieces of fabric or string that come down. So you could add a couple. Now remember, you guys are using your pencil here. I'm just using Sharpie so that you can see what I am drawing. So you're using pencil so you could erase all the extra lines we have. Now, before we add details on his clothes, I really like this part, is the mustache. Now, my dad actually used to have a mustache like this in college, and he is also from Lebanon. But he is full Lebanese. He was born and raised there. And my mom is from here, so from the United States. So I am not 100% Lebanese. Now the mustache is fun because we're going to make it nice and big because this is almost like a cartoon version. So it's not super realistic. Don't be afraid to add some twirls on your mustache. We're going to add the ears. And then 2 eyes. So these are also simple, just 2 rainbow lines. You can give him a smile if you would like. I'm going to keep it simple, just so that I'm able to color everything. Now we're going to go in his clothes. So usually they wear just a plain white, either white t-shirt or white collar shirt. I'm going to add 2 slanted lines for that. And then a couple of, so these are usually a golden color, which is really pretty. You can add as many as you want. They're like semicircles on the side of the shirt. And there we have our first doll, our figure. Now we're going to move on to the woman. Now her clothes are really fun. So these clothes are usually very silky and colorful. Now we have her face over here. Before we add her neck, we're going to add her hat because the hat's going to cover the neck. The first part is the rim of the hat, which looks like a long oval over her head. Now this also covers her neck. So we're going to add a piece of cloth. Now you can add some lines, so see how I'm drawing it and adding a bit of lines, because it is not one solid shape that's really tight, it's very loose. So we want to emphasize the fabric. There's a lot of flowing and swaying. And let's add the top of the hat, so same thing, you can emphasize the shape. And then later we'll add the other piece of fabric. Now, this outfit that the woman is wearing is called a tantour, or it can be called an abaya. Now, the abaya means it's more of the flowy dress that we're going to add. So you can start by a triangle, long triangle shape for her collar. And then let's add her shoulders. So we can pretend that they're holding hands or they're next to each other, so her shoulder is going to touch his arm. Now, we're not going to do this part just yet because her flowy fabric is going to cover this part of her shirt, just like this. See how the flowy fabric covers it. All right, now we're going to have her pretty little dress. She's going to add a long slanted line. This is her arm. So we just have it connect over there. And then the same thing on the other side. So you can just add this line and this line because we're going to cover this part of her dress. Now with the woman's attire, it varies a lot. So I've seen different types of hats and traditional wear. It's not always the pointy ones. There's a lot of different ones, but this is just one example. For her, she's going to have normal pants on, but they are also loose. And then the same thing for the feet. Now, in case you guys didn't know where Lebanon actually is on the map, it is super tiny. It looks like a little speck. It is on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, and it's technically in the Middle East and also the very west of Asia. So Syria and Israel share the same border with Lebanon, if that helps you, because those countries are much bigger. We're going to add a line here. So the woman's dress also has some golden accents. So this we're going to color it yellow later for gold. Gonna add a little belt on the inside too, and we're gonna wait on this side for a sec. Now let's move back on to her face. So what's really popular in Lebanon is these little tassels with coins on them. And that is because there are a lot of belly dancers in Lebanon. So that's almost like the Lebanese dance. So if you guys know Shakira, the celebrity, she's from Lebanon and she likes belly dancing. She's really good at it, and Lebanese women are very good at it. And they usually wear little skirts with these coins on them so that when they move, it makes noise. So it's really interesting. Now let's add her flowy hat. So we're going to pretend that the fabric's on the top of her hat and goes all the way down. You can have fun with this part. You can make it curve. You can make it more straight. I left it curve at the end because I'm going to connect it. So I'm going to go over here, go over where her clothes were and connect it at the end. And then you could add another shape on the inside to pretend that there's two pieces of fabric. Now we're going to go here and then finish up her body. We'll add her neck. And we'll finish up her dress. So you can add it here, a line. Unless you cover it all, you can cover it. Finish the belt. And now she has a similar design on her shirt. Add some circles. Now remember, you guys are using pencil. So that means you would erase these lines over here. These extra lines. So we're adding the little elements of decoration, the little accents. And then we're going to move on to her face. Same thing, we're going to keep this really simple. Two curves. Now, you don't have to add a mouth, you can add a smile. I'm going to add lips. Now, Lebanese females, even since I live there, I notice they really love eye makeup, face makeup, lipstick. I think that is a way that they like to show their beauty, is to add eyeliner, nice lipstick. So that's why I added some big lips. All right, so we are done with our little figures. We're going to move on to the background. Now before I add the mountains, I'm going to add a bubble in the sky. So it's a cloud that our type, our letters are going to be in, just so we know where everything goes. So I'm going to start at the left side. Now you don't have to do this part. You can have the letters floating in the air. But I like it to make it like this is almost a speech bubble. And I put it behind her hat. And then I'm going to continue to the end. Now for the mountains, the reason we're putting mountains is because Lebanon is not flat. So if you guys have been to Laguna Beach, it kind of reminds me where the way the mountains are, that's how Lebanon is. And even the mountains, not all of them are that green. Some of them have a brownish texture. They don't have that much greenery, but there's a lot of mountains. So I added one here as if they're standing on it so that we can structure our background. And then we're going to go over to the back and add some mountains too. So I'm going to add one here. And you can add them however you like. And it was also known that the mountains were important in the past during wars, where it would give people a place to hide. So that's very interesting. So I'm adding one here. Now I'm still going to add a mountain here, but I want to add some cedar trees, and I'm going to put the mountain behind it. So this, if you guys have seen the Lebanese flag, there is a cedar tree right in the middle. That is because it is the national symbol of Lebanon. So I'm going to add a cedar down here. Now the cedar tree is very wide. So the tip isn't pointy, it's flat. Actually not flat, it's rounded. And then there is no perfect way to draw the tree. You're just going to make sure, so it's almost like a Christmas tree if that helps, but it's wide. So you're adding curved lines and going back in. You can even add lines like that. And then the base is very wide. So see how I made the trunk really wide. Now a sad thing is that they use these trees for a lot of wood. So people cut them down. So now they're trying to preserve the trees. because the trees are really far. It's not like you walk around the town and you just see the trees. They're really far up in the mountains. So I added one here. And I am going to add another one over here. Actually, before I do that, let me get my mountain here. Now, another popular thing, so we talked about Lebanon's mountains, is also the beaches. So where I lived, it was a small town by the Mediterranean Sea, which is actually very warm compared to the beaches here. And it's very popular for young people, actually all people, to go to the beach in summer, and then in winter they would go skiing. So in winter, these mountains become snowy, and then you can go skiing. So now we're going to write hello in Arabic, which this is a formal way of saying hello. It's marhaba. So in English, you could say it like marhaba, but the H in Arabic is so it's kind of like it's a different sound. So we're going to start with the M. Now the M is like a little circle. So we're going to start with a curved line. And all the letters in Arabic, a lot of them are connected to each other. So some are, some aren't. So the M and the R are connected, then the H and the B are connected. So you'll see what I mean. Now there's a hole in this. So it's like a rounded triangle. Now the R has a nice curve. And then on the tip of the curve, I added a decorative element. And then you connect it back up. Now Arabic calligraphy and writing is very beautiful, so it almost looks like a piece of art. That's how I feel. So even if you can't read it, it looks pretty. Now we're going to add the H. I'm going to draw a curved line. Now you might need to pause and look at the shapes. I know it might be a little complicated, but if you break down each shape alone, you will get there. So it helps to start. Now I'm making these bubble letters. That's why it might be a little harder. So that's the H. And then we have the B. Now the B has a dot under it to show you that it's a B. And then the line that goes up is the last noise. So marhaba. So the line going up tells you it's And we go up and down. So if it helps, you can just pause, take a look at this shape, try to break it down into different shapes. You can draw this as a circle and then adjust the edges. So that always helps since you're using a pencil and you can erase. This, you can add a rainbow line and then erase this part. So now we're going to add the letter for the B is a dot. It's a nice diamond shape. So since I did this in pencil, in Sharpie, you guys did it in pencil, now it's time for you to Sharpie it. Now this was just our practice. So if you want to redo the steps to get even better at it, as we always do a practice and a final, you can rewind and redo this on your final piece of paper. So you follow the same steps on your final paper. Now once you drew everything, you are going to outline it with Sharpie. And remember, you're not going to outline this line right here or this line right here. Now just a small tip with your Sharpie, if you would like, once you get there, you can make some lines thicker so that they pop out more. So I'm just going to do a bit of that now. So for example, I want to add a bit of depth to my bubble. Almost like a shadow. Now, once you learn about, you're actually going to learn about art in the ancient Near East soon, I believe. and art in the Middle East and ancient art. So you'll probably see some letters like this in your art history classes at FIBO. So I'm just making it a little thicker. You don't have to do this part, but I like the dimension it adds. So it almost looks like a comic book. And there are a lot of artists in Lebanon. And what's interesting is a lot of the art is about the wars that have happened in Lebanon a long time ago. So that's the way that the people need to express themselves. So they do a lot of it through art. There's a lot of campaigns that are done through art and design. There's a lot of fine art. There's a lot of comic books even in Arabic. All right, and then I'm going to go over here to my lettering and add the same thing. And a little over here. So it's like I'm adding shadows and depth and thickness to my lettering. Now, as you guys are finishing up, just a reminder that we are using marker and chalk today. Now, you can always substitute for colored pencils or anything you have. Colored pencils might take you a little longer because you're shading, but that is okay. So I'm going to pause right here and we are going to start our coloring steps. We are going to start coloring. So we're starting by using markers. Now again, if you don't have markers, don't worry, you can use anything you have. I'm going to start with red for the tarbouche, which is the hat, because they are usually red. So it can be actually red or black, but for the most part, it is red. Now, another item in his clothing that is red is this part right here. So the cloth that goes around his stomach. And after that, so that's all we need for the red. We're going to use yellow to add the gold accents on both of their outfits. Now, for Lebanese weddings, which are really fun, I actually went to one last summer for my cousin's wedding. They do have, it's usually more men that are dressed this way, and they carry an instrument. The instrument is called a derbake, and it's like a drum. Now remember, I have this line because I used Sharpie, but this line for you should not be there. Yeah, so the derbake is like a drum, and then before the bride enters, or if they want to celebrate something, the men will come out with this instrument and sing, and there's usually a dance where everyone joins in. They all hold hands and they just kick their legs in the air. It's very interesting. You should look it up. That dance is called the debke. Now, for his mustache and his outfit, I'm actually going to use black. So if you have colored pencil, that works too. You can even use gray. If you don't have black, maybe just use a dark color. Because for the men, this color was dark. So we're getting the mustache, and this shirt, and his pants, and his shoes. Now, you can color the whole shoes or leave a bit of his ankle showing, because sometimes they wore high socks, so it looked like the whole thing was black. And sometimes they wore some tights, so the females would wear tights under the shirts. Now, the debke is a very interesting Lebanese dance. So not all of the younger generation, like my age, will do it. but maybe if it's a special occasion, it is a means of celebrating. So make sure to go around all of the little items that we added. And whatever material you're using, we can make it work. Now the pants, which are called the shirwen, are also black. They have some that are short, so they even have some that go right under the knees, and then they have long ones. And I actually have both. They are really comfortable. So it's interesting how it became a fashionable item here, because I bought one of them in Lebanon and one of them here in California. So it's interesting that something traditional that was worn years ago now becomes something fashionable to our society nowadays. Not necessarily, it doesn't indicate any culture to some people. They just think of it as a nice outfit. But it's cool to see where everything originates from. And Lebanon has a lot of history. There is a lot of archaeological structures from the Phoenician times. There's a town, another town, my town was by the sea, but there's another town that's very beautiful, and it has a souk. So a souk is like a marketplace. So they have a lot of, if you guys have seen that on TV, they have them in Turkey and other Arabian countries, and they're really interesting. They're really fun to walk around. So I'm adding now pink for her hat and cloth around her face. Now these they range between yellow, pink, purple. You can have fun with this. I made mine over here very colorful. So I really like colors. And these are very silky and smooth. So that's also nice. And nowadays you can see Lebanese females, for example, I really like wearing long, flowy dresses, and I feel like this is probably where that came from. Just very breathable fabric. So I'm adding a darker pink on the inside to show that there's extra fabric which is darker. And then I'm going to finish, let's see, I'm actually going to use my dark pink for this part too. Then I'm going to use purple for the other. So remember, when you're using markers, it always helps to outline first. My marker is pretty thick for this area, so I'm not outlining, I'm just using the tip. But if you outline, you'll make sure that you don't go into your Sharpie lines. Now the souks, so it's S-O-U-K-S, are very fun to walk around. There's different shops. Now, because Lebanon gets a lot of tourists in summer, there are a lot of foreigners in that area, in the souks, and there's a lot of people selling souvenirs to them. So I think that's how a lot of people make money too, is they sell to the tourists. So tourism actually brings a lot of money into the country. So they really try to make it a fun place in the summer so that visitors come. Now I'm going to color all this pink and then the inside purple. I'm going to go long, straight lines. And now for the inside, you can also make it different colors. I have a nice dark purple here. So since this is a large area, I am going to outline this. You gotta be very careful. That way we make sure that our lines are nice and straight. There. Now we make, using our thick part of our marker, nice thick lines. Now if your lines follow the shape, that also helps a lot. It looks very clean. See how I'm using thick curves. Now since Lebanon is by the sea, seafood in the small towns by the sea, not the city, seafood is very popular. We have a lot of fishermen. They like to eat a tahini fish hummus, which is basically garbanzo beans mixed with tahini, which is ground sesame seeds, mixed with a little bit of fish. And it is very good. So they have a lot of things that look like dips in their food. And the way they eat is that they don't just eat one meal. So at a dinner, it's not like you just get a plate of food and that's your dinner. They have a lot of different courses. So it starts with the appetizers. So I'm going to use orange for here just to let you guys know. It starts with appetizers, drinks, and the appetizers are very filling. It's a lot of different stuff. There's hummus, there's different traditional salads that are dressed with olive oil, lemon, so they're very healthy, and that's where the term Mediterranean diet comes from, is because there's good fats like olive oils and nuts, a lot of vegetables, there's beans. So they have their appetizers, then their main course, which is a lot of meat. So they really like roasting and barbecuing meat and chicken on skewers. So that's also called shawarma, if you've heard of that, or like a kebab. They have that in Turkey as well. Now I'm going to do the trees. So for the trees, I had some fun with mixing light green and dark green. I tried to show that the ones that were farther are maybe darker. So you can have fun with the shades of green that you want your trees to be. Now, yes, so they put their meat on skewers and barbecue them, use pita bread and hummus. So when you go to a Lebanese dinner or event, it lasts a long time. So I am not used to eating that much right now, but I used to do that a lot during events. And then they have some traditional Lebanese restaurants in Lebanon, because sometimes not all the restaurants are traditional. There's a lot of American restaurants that opened up there just so the people could try different things. Now we just had one fast food restaurant there. We had, I think it was Burger King, and everyone was really excited because it is very different. It's not normal to have so many fast food chains there. And then McDonald's opened up. So we have a couple there. We have KFC. But not many people like going there. They like it, but they don't eat it as much. In Lebanon, fast food there's something called a saj, where there's a little stand, and either they'll make hot dogs or they'll make little sandwiches. They'll heat up bread on this round circular plate and then wrap up a sandwich for you. Now I forgot her lips. So since we're still using our markers, now the last step is chalk. I'm going to do my type, the marhaba, in red. Now, the reason I'm doing it in red is because for the Lebanese flag, it has a red stripe, a green cedar tree, and another red stripe. So I wanted to really think of those colors and incorporate them into my design. So if you want, you can make this green, or you can leave it white. But if you want to leave white, I would suggest leaving the bubble white, because then the type really pops out when you do that. Now the word marhaba, if you go to Lebanon now, maybe the older people will say it to you, but a lot of the young people, they sometimes speak a lot of English, so they will say hi. They say hi a lot there. Or they'll say it in French, so they'll be like allo, like hello, but it's like allo. Which is a funny thing about Lebanon is that people make fun that they say hello in 3 languages, which they really do. So they speak a lot of French there as well. So when a young person maybe tells you hi, they will say hi in English. Then they'll say kifak, which that means how are you in Arabic. It's kifak. And then they'll say ça va, which in French means you're good, like question mark, like are you good? So they literally just said hello in 3 languages in 1 sentence. All right. I believe that is all for my marker steps. So now we're going to add some chalk pastel. If you don't have chalk pastel, you can use color pencil, but it might take you a little longer, only because these are large areas. Now I'm going to start with the skin first. Well, I'm going to use a tan color. Now, not all Lebanese people have very dark skin. It varies. So maybe if you want to keep it authentic, use probably, I felt like this brown was too dark, a mix between those two. Because a lot of them have skin just like me. It's a more olive skin. That's how my dad's skin is. And then the little ankles. So we got the skin. And if you want to add some teeny details, you can even use the tip and add some shading. Or you can leave this till the end. So you add a little line. Now you need to use your pinky probably there because it's so tiny. That's just an added extra element. So now we're going to get our mountains. So we're going to have a base layer of light green and then add dark green on the tips. So we're using our sleepy side. You don't need to add too much chalk. If you've been coming to FIBO for a while, you know that we don't add too much chalk because it gets everywhere. And I'm using the side because it's a large area. If you really want to get inside small areas, you can use the edge. So we're getting all our mountains. If you go over your project, that is okay. We can just erase it later. So you can either use 1 finger or 2 fingers zipped together. And get all the mountains. And then even over here. Because I don't want, you could use blue there, but I really want to emphasize the landscape. The landscape is very beautiful. So as you drive along the freeway, you see large mountains. There's a very beautiful statue at a church. And speaking of that, there's a lot of different, there's about, I believe, 3 or 4 religions in Lebanon. So it's not all one religion. There's churches and mosques. There's a lot of different religions living together. So we have that. Going to take dark green and just add, using my edge, a thick line to add shading and texture. So ideally, if you have a darker color, that would be great. And then this is really light. I'll just use a small one finger. You can blend it a little into the other color if you want, or you can just keep it thick without blending too much. Now remember, for the dust, you don't blow the dust. You can, if you go to a trash can, you can lightly drop it like that. Yay! So now we have this part. Now, you're welcome to keep it white just to be true to the flag. Red, white, and green. Now, you can add, so I'll show you some layers that you can add, and then you can choose how far you want to go. So you can outline this part with green. Now, another fun fact is there is one freeway in Lebanon. So it's not like here where you go on a billion different freeways and you might get lost. There's just one freeway. And the way people tell directions, they don't usually give you an address. They'll say like, drive down this road, go to the right of this hill. So they'll just describe monuments, and that's how you'll know where to go. Which was kind of confusing sometimes. So I added a bit of red on the top. Now, you don't want to mix the red and the green too much because they'll make a brownish color. You can do that, of course, if you want, but I kept a little bit of white in between to show the red, white, and green. I'm just adding a bit of red. Try to use a different finger. So see, it gives a different brownish color when they blend. So I'm trying to use a different finger than I did before. And you can see, you can judge how you like it so far. If you want to add maybe thicker accents of red around the type, you can do that. I'm going to do that. So you can judge here. Do you want to add more chalk around the lettering? You want to keep it as is. You can always erase parts or use a kneaded eraser. So that's the cool thing about chalk. It might not erase it fully, but it could make it a little lighter. So I'm just blending a little more in the white just to make it a little more natural. And there you have it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this project. It was really fun teaching you about my culture. I really hope you guys enjoyed the project and enjoyed learning a little more about Lebanon's culture. In the live class, I'll bring some things to show you guys, and it'll be really fun. And again, my name is Miss Melissa, and I really hope I can learn more about your culture as well.